My name is Sanford Stein. I've been a keynote speaker and presenter to diverse audiences on 3 continents, sharing my insights and observations on the ever-changing area of retailing, brand marketing, and the development of unique customer experiences. For the past 28 years, as the president and design director of Minneapolis-based Stein LLC, I have overseen the creation of hundreds of unique branded environments for leading retailers and manufacturers throughout the United States. Our design work has spanned virtually every segment of specialty retail and retail service. Articles I have written or contributed to on the subject of consumer trends, popular culture, and brand marketing have appeared in the media, books, and periodicals nationally and internationally. In 2008, I was honored to be named as a consultant to Goldman Sachs' prestigious Vantage Marketplace, recognizing my expertise in the area of retailing and brand marketing. My father and his twin brother were in business together in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the store was the center of our lives. And in a matter of speaking, we were put to work at an early age. And when you grow up in retailing, you literally grow up in retailing. If you want to see Dad, he's not home, he's at the store. And the store in the mid-50s through the mid-60s was this unusual cacophony of stuff embodied in a place called Jewelry and Toy Center. My father, as I refer to it, was a from-the-gut retailer. Never read a marketing book in his life, and he and his identical twin were in retailing their entire lives. And it was anything but a brand. If there was an anti-brand, Jewelry and Toy Center was it. And if a customer walked in on any given day, they would look around and say, this must be a garage sale or some other kind of temporary tenancy, because there was nothing in the store that would give any indication that these people were going to be there even next week. Al and Lou Stein were selling everything from dribble glasses and the newest and greatest electronics from Japan to toys, 49-cent scatter pins, and rings for $1.10 that would turn your finger green. The high-flying dot-com era at the end of the 90s was largely responsible for the inception of what came to be known as e-tailing. I found myself in the eye of the storm at the National Retail Federation convention, speaking in years 1999 and again in 2000, and attempting to make sense out of one of the biggest events in modern retail history. There was considerable fear amongst conventional retailers that the stores were simply going to go away. We correctly predicted that e-tail would become just one more touch point in a successful brand's multi-channel existence. And it's fair to say that year 98 was primarily a pure play e-tail event. By 99, it was apparent to retailers around the world, and particularly in the States, that this was a wagon they better get on. Most of these e-tailers got online as pure plays, and they had already recognized the power of the clicks and mortar, or bricks and clicks, this synergy between the brick and mortar store and e-tail. So this 360-degree strategy that they were talking about was 6 months old. That's wisdom in cyberspace. Ironically, however, those retailers who had brick and mortar beginnings had the greatest problem getting up to speed with e-tail. And the pure plays were creating less challenges for the consumers. Toys are late was one of the outcries of Christmas. So 99, the media was the lost message. As any one of us spending any time in front of the television in November and December can attest to, there were too many .coms chasing too few eyeballs and losing that battle for mind space. Because as a lot of these e-tail entities learned, it takes more than money to build a brand. And as I try to get an historical fix on this, being a car person, I go back to some of the origins of the automobile, which at the turn of the century 100 years ago was as new as this e-tail phenomenon is to us today. In a city in an area of Cleveland, Ohio alone, in the first 2 decades of automotive manufacturing, there were 80 manufacturers of automobiles. Now, if we look in those first couple of decades and look at names like Galloway, Hupmobile, Hanson, Jackson, Briscoe, and Jordan, sounds like a basketball team, hardly any of those names evolved into anything that lasted. So in front of the television set at Christmas, it isn't a surprise to see names like Boxlot.com, Mall.com, Gear.com, BuyNow.com, Shebang.com, ShopFree.com maybe going away equally as fast. As I was growing up, I would spend my summers in a little town in northern Wisconsin by the name of Medford. I'm sure none of you ever heard of it. Happens to be where Tombstone Pizza is made today. Well, my grandfather escaped from Russia in a hay wagon at the turn of the century and got on a boat at about 13 years old, got to Milwaukee where he had some relatives, and got up north to become a big fish in a little pond. And he was the first generation of retailer who I had an intimate relationship with. And in the 20s, for the farmers in that farming community, he would order from Red Wing Pottery bean pots with his name on it. And he believed in value added and would give those bean pots away at Christmas. You know, everybody knows one another in a small town. And my grandmother would pick up the telephone to call the butcher. "Hello," she'd say. And the butcher would say, "Hello." And she'd say, "Send me up a rolled roast trimmed the way I like it. Okay, bye." She'd hung up. She never identified herself. She didn't have to. The butcher knew who was calling. And in a lot of ways, that phenomenon is like the internet, because it's like a small town. You get on, the site recognizes you, helps the customer through information dissemination, added value, personalization, we all want that, assists the customer through the process, incentivizes the sale, shares information with partners, and that's becoming a problem. So I believe in the future, companies are going to pay for that right. And they're going to have to disclose that information sharing. I believe the culture is going to demand it.
Regrettably, America is over-retailed, and that was probably true even before the 2008-2009 recession. We're going to see continued industry consolidation and contraction. For retailers to survive, they're going to have to sharpen their message, control all their brand touch points, refine their offerings, and improve the customer experience. Formats will continue to change to respond to the internet, changing demographics and psychographics, and changing consumer values.
As selling channels continue to evolve, the value of many of today's malls are in serious jeopardy. Some are going to exist reinvented, many won't. So that little Sony store that needs to be in the mall now is going to be under like-kind environment. So if I'm starting a Soho small office, home office, I may go to the area in the mall that builds brands for small office, home office. And the Desk Furniture Company and Sony and all of these like-minded aspirational themes will be collected together. And I want to leave you with the final chapter that we might get the chance to read in my book when it comes out about my dad. Because that little struggling year-to-year existence on the corner of 2nd and Wisconsin taught them enough about brands that they became a niche player in Milwaukee. They created a very highly focused retail concept. Pill and Puff became ubiquitous throughout Milwaukee, gave the customers bags that they walked up and down the street like roving billboards, and allowed my father to express his most outrageous style. And because he couldn't be here today, and I knew he would have wanted to, I brought a little one of his ditties with me. Now, even he only wore this once or twice, and I had to share it with you so that Al Stein could join us today. And thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Oh, great. Thank you. Oh, okay. Oh, sure. Sure, sure.